So we can either call it as mechanical properties of fluids, or we can also call it as fluid mechanics. Both mean the same. Okay. So when you talk about fluid mechanics, basically it is classified into two types. What are the two types, guys? One is fluid statics, and the second one is called as fluid dynamics. Right? So that is, we are going to study how the liquids respond to different kinds of pressures, right? And how do they respond to the force applied by the walls of the container. All those things will come under fluid statics, provided the fluid is at rest. If the same fluid is moving, then it comes under fluid dynamics. So what are all the topics that we are going to discuss under fluids is what we are going to see today. So first, let's understand what is fluids. So everybody knows what a fluid is. Fluid is a substance or those substances which can flow when an external force is applied on them, right? Generally, we classify liquids and gases as fluids, but in this chapter, we'll be concentrating mostly on liquids only. Okay. So the key property of fluids is that they offer very little resistance to the shear stress. You know what is shear stress, right? Yesterday we discussed. If you're applying a tangential force and if the object takes a different shape, then the tangential force divided by area is what we call it as shear stress, right? So generally what happens with respect to liquid is, if you apply a shear stress, it is not going to rechange its shape alone. It's not going to get deformed alone. Rather, it will start flowing. That is the reason why we say it will offer very little resistance to the shear stress. Hence, they do not have a finite shape, but takes the shape of the container vessel. Right? So in fluid mechanics, the following properties of fluid would be considered. When the fluid is at rest, we call it as hydrostatics. When the fluid is in motion, we call it as hydrodynamics. So whether you talk about hydrostatics or hydrodynamics, there are some basic terminologies that you're supposed to know. Okay. So in any chapter, you have basic terminologies, which are definitions. Then you will have the formula for it, and then the SI units, right? In a similar context, here also you have something called thrust. So what is thrust? What is the difference between thrust and force?
So thrust is normal force.
Yeah.
That's right. So force means it is a push or a pull which is responsible for the motion of the object, right? So it is a cause. Whereas if the same force, see, suppose the force is acting like this and you resolve it into two components, F cos theta and F sin theta, the normal force to the surface, whatever surface you are applying, okay, the normal force to the surface is what is called as thrust. Okay, so the total normal force exerted by liquid at rest on a given surface is what is called as the thrust of the liquid. Obviously, since thrust is a force, its SI unit is going to be Newton. Right. Then what is pressure? So pressure is also called as hydrostatic stress. Can I call it like that? So what does pressure mean? Pressure of a liquid is defined as the thrust acting per unit area. Okay. So that is, you will take only the perpendicular component into consideration and divide it with the area of the cross section. So thrust per unit area is what is called as pressure, and pressure is a scalar quantity. So what is going to be the SI unit of it? It is Newton per meter square, and its dimensional formula is same as that of stress. That is ml minus 1 T minus 2. Okay. I hope these 2 points are clear. Right. Then you need to know the next term, which is called as density. So how do we define density? It is the mass per unit volume, right? M divided by V is what is called as the density, or you can also call it as mass density of the liquid, which is represented by the symbol rho. So what is going to be the SI unit for it? It is kilogram per meter cube. And what is going to be the CGS unit?
Gram per cc.
Gram per cc or gram per cubic centimeter. So what is the relation between them? 1000 kilogram per meter cube is equal to 1 gram per cc. Make a note of it. 1000 kilogram per meter cube is equal to 1 gram per cc. Got it? Shall I move on? Now listen. Similarly, you have another concept called as relative density or specific gravity. So what does this mean, guys? Anybody with the answer? It is also a ratio.
So with respect to water.
What is with respect to water? What parameter of water?
Density of the substance.
Density of substance. To?
By density of water.
At 4 degrees Celsius. That is very important. So it is defined as the ratio of density of substance to the density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Why do we use 4 degrees Celsius?
So below 4 degrees Celsius, water will show some anomalous properties.
Yes. So water has this anomalous behavior. Below 4 degrees, what will happen is its volume will decrease. And after 4 degrees, its volume will increase. So it is observed that at 4 degrees Celsius, the density of the liquid is maximum and the density of water is maximum. And its density is observed to be how much? 1000 kilogram per meter cube or 1 gram per cc at 4 degrees Celsius. That is the reason why we take this 4 degrees Celsius into consideration. So the other way to represent is you can either call it as density of substance by 1000. That's it. That is what is relative density. So in physics, relative means comparison. So whenever the term relative comes, the definition will either be subtraction of two parameters or division of two parameters. Both the parameters will belong to the same physical quantity. That is very important. Right? So what is going to be the SI unit of it?
No units.
It has no units and no dimensions. Right? So these two are going to happen. So that is all about relative density or specific gravity. Both mean the same. Am I clear, guys? Shall I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Listen. The next concept is variation of pressure with respect to depth. Okay. So if you take a liquid column, the pressure will vary with respect to depth. We know this fact, right? Then how is it going to vary? So write down variation of pressure with depth. So if I take a liquid column, okay. So depth is always measured below the surface, right? So if I take a particular depth h, which is measured from the surface of the water. So if this is the point P, and let's say this point is A, okay. So what is going to be the pressure at point, okay, let me call it as B itself. What is going to be the pressure at point B? Can you tell me? If the density of the liquid is taken as rho.
Rho GH.
So it is rho into G into H. But how did we get that? Let's see the derivation. Can you tell me how you got the value?
Sir, ஞாபகம் தான் sir வச்சிருக்கேன்.
Okay. Super. So what we can do is we will consider a small liquid column. Don't get confused. It's not a cylinder which is immersed. I've taken a liquid column in the form of a cylindrical shape. You can think of a cuboid also. So I thought it's easy for me to take a cylinder, so I took it. So it's a liquid column. Guys, if there is any doubt, get it clarified. Okay. The height of the liquid portion that you have considered is h. Point A, B. So there will be force exerted due to the liquid at the bottom in the upward direction. There will be force due to the liquid in the upward direction like this, Fa. Okay. Then there will be weight of the liquid column which will be acting exactly at its center of mass, which is m into g. Okay. So one important point, though this chapter comes under mechanics only. So whenever I speak about mechanics, mechanics basically consists of kinematics and dynamics. Right? Kinematics means we are concerned only about the motion, not about the cause. Dynamics means we are concerned about the cause as well as the motion. By the way, is the session getting recorded? Srivatsan, can you check?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right. Okay. So here also we are discussing about fluid mechanics, right? So whenever force gets involved, what is the parameter that we need to solve the problems? We know what is the definition of force. We know what is the mathematical expression for force. If I ask you what is the basic mathematical expression for force, you will write F is equal to m into A, right? So this is what you use to solve the problems in the case of dynamics. At least till gravitation or till previous chapter also we were using this. Here also we are using it, which is nothing but mg. But the only difficulty that comes in the case of fluids is, rather than measuring the mass of the quantity, okay, rather than measuring the mass of the liquid column, it is always advisable for us to write the mass in terms of density and volume, because these two parameters are easy to calculate. So that is why if you check this chapter, none of the formula will be in terms of mass, rather they will be in terms of density. Okay. Similarly, we will not be using force, because when you talk about force, the force is applicable on a particle. But when you're taking a liquid, it is collection of particles. See, generally when you write F is equal to ma, what does this acceleration actually represent? I would have told this. This is the acceleration of whom?
Center of mass.
It is the acceleration of center of mass. So it is easy for us to consider the center of mass for a solid, whereas when you talk about the liquid columns, it is difficult because the particles are not equally distributed. Right? They do not have a fixed shape. No, it is difficult. So we will not solve the problems. None of the problems will have the expression for force. Rather, they'll be in terms of what parameter? They'll be in terms of pressure. Okay. So what difference I'm trying to tell here is the ideas that you're supposed to think of is, you will not write the expression in terms of mass. Rather, you will write it in terms of density. Similarly, you will not write any expression in terms of force. Rather, you will write it in terms of pressure. Is that point clear, guys? So when I consider the liquid column, I have no other option other than going with the free body diagram. That's what I've drawn. But I will ensure that my force is written in terms of pressure and the mass is written in terms of density and volume. So for that, what I need is, I need the area of cross section as A. So can I write FA is equal to FA plus mg is equal to FV? Can I write it like this? Now let's think. How can I write FA in terms of pressure and area? P into A plus mass can be written as density into volume, and G is G. FP is again pressure into A. The only difference is here is pressure at point A, here it is pressure at point B. Everywhere else, the area of cross section is the same because it's a cylinder. Okay. So PA into A plus rho into, how can I write the volume in terms of area of cross section and height?
AH.
It is AH into G is equal to PB into A. A gets cancelled. So what is it you're going to get? PB minus PA is equal to rho GH. Right? That is, the difference between the pressure at the bottom and the pressure at the top is always equal to rho GH. This tells us clearly that as you go deep into the liquid column, the pressure is going to increase. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Make a note of this. If PA is equal to P small a, this is called as atmospheric pressure. Clear, guys? So PB will be equal to pressure, atmospheric pressure plus rho GH. So this is an important formula. We'll be using it in this chapter. Clear? Shall I move on to the next concept?
Yes, sir.
Now listen. So atmospheric pressure, you know what it is. Pressure exerted by the atmosphere on the earth is atmospheric pressure, and its value is given as 1.015 into 10 power 5 Pascal. All the other units are given here. Okay. Next. So the next term is gauge pressure, or you can call it as gauge pressure. Okay. So gauge pressure at a point in a fluid is the difference of the total pressure at a point and the atmospheric pressure. So if you're able to find the pressure at point B minus pressure at point A, then this can be collectively called as gauge pressure. Okay. Next. So this hydrostatic paradox is theory. I'll explain it later. Then in the hydrostatics itself, the other law that comes into picture is Pascal's law. So what does Pascal's law state, guys? You people know this already. See, generally, where is this Pascal's law applicable? When you apply pressure at one of the ends of a liquid, if you ignore the effect of gravity, okay, if you ignore the effect of gravity, the pressure will get equally transmitted to every other part of the liquid. We know this, right? So the increase in pressure at a point, here it is stated in a different way. That is only difference. One minute. So just a minute, guys. Charge is over. Okay. Guys, are you able to understand? So Pascal's law mainly speaks about the pressure applied in an enclosed liquid. So the increase in pressure at a point in an enclosed liquid in equilibrium, that is when it is at rest, is transmitted equally in all directions in a liquid and to the walls of the container. The working of hydraulic lift and hydraulic brakes are based on the Pascal's law. So last year, you would have seen this kind of a experiment, right? So there will be two pistons. You will apply pressure at one of the, let's say the force applied here is F1 and the area of cross section is A1. Here the force is F2 and the area of cross section is A2. if the liquid used inside is incompressible, okay, then what is the relation between F1A1 and F2A2? F1 by A1 will be equal to F2 divided by A2, which implies pressure at point 1 is equal to pressure at point 2, provided you ignore the effect of gravity. Got it? Are you able to understand?
Sir.
Okay. So this is all about Pascal's law and the variation of pressure with respect to depth. So if you observe these two concepts, we are concerned only with the liquid columns, okay? In the sense, there is no solid that is coming into contact with the liquid. So in the hydrostatics itself, the other part that you're going to learn is the point where the solid and the liquid come in contact with each other, right? Where the concept of buoyancy comes into picture. Suppose I have a liquid column into which a solid is immersed. Then what do you think will happen to this solid? If I just place the solid on top of this, due to the weight of the solid, do you think it is going to go and settle down at the bottom, irrespective of what is the nature of the solid? Is it going to happen?
No, sir.
So why is it not happening? See, generally, if I take a solid and keep it in air, if I release it, what is supposed to happen due to its weight? It will go down. If you start accelerating in the downward direction, it is going to go and hit the bottom. Whereas here, it is not going to happen, and the reason for that is obviously known to us. What is it? There is an upward. Yes, there is an upward force that is acting on the object, which we call it as buoyant force, or what is the other name for it? We call it as upthrust. Why do we call it as upthrust? Because it's a perpendicular force and it will always act in the upward direction. So the combination of those two is what we call it as upthrust, right? So the phenomenon that comes into picture is what is called as buoyancy. So the name of the force is buoyant force, and the phenomenon by which the liquid exerts an upward force on the object is what is called as buoyancy, right? So whenever the solid is coming in contact with the liquid, there are different things that can happen. One is the solid can either float where it is partially immersed, or the solid can float where it is completely immersed, or the solid will get settled at the bottom. That is, it will get sunk. It will get sinked, right? So if that is the case, then what principle comes into picture is Archimedes principle. So can you guys tell me what does Archimedes principle state?
The buoyant force is equal to the weight of the volume displaced by the object.
That's right. So before that, you need to mention one important point. When a solid is partially or
Immersed in the
completely, yes, when a solid is partially or completely immersed in a liquid, what did you say? Can you repeat it? The buoyant force is equal to
Weight of the volume displaced.
weight of the
Volume of the
weight of,
liquid displaced.
weight of the liquid that is displaced. That's enough. Buoyant force is exactly equal to weight of liquid displaced, right? So buoyant force is FB How do you calculate the weight of the liquid that is displaced? So Archimedes principle also states that when a solid is completely or partially immersed, the volume of the liquid displaced is equal to volume of the immersed portion of solid. Accepted? Right? Are you able to understand? So if suppose this much amount of volume has gone into the liquid, if you're able to calculate this volume, the amount of the volume that is displaced is the volume of the water that is displaced or liquid that is displaced is equal to what? Volume of the immersed portion of the solid. Right? If this volume of the immersed portion is X, then the amount of liquid that would have got replaced in that place is also going to be X. So buoyant force will be equal to, how do I calculate the weight of the liquid that is displaced? Weight is nothing but mg. So who is getting displaced? It's a liquid. So density of the liquid into how much volume of the liquid has got displaced? It is volume of immersed portion multiplied with g. So going forward, this is going to be the formula for buoyant force. So what is it? It is the density of the liquid into volume of immersed portion into acceleration due to gravity. Guys, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when the solid is in equilibrium, okay, when the solid is in equilibrium, what will happen is, if you take the solid completely, then its weight will act in the downward direction. Buoyant force will act in the upward direction. Right? Okay. Now listen. So what is the weight of the solid? Mg. M is density of solid into volume of the solid into G is equal to, what is the buoyant force? It is the density of liquid into volume of immersed portion of the liquid into G. So G and G will get cancelled, which implies rho S into Vs will be equal to rho L into Vi. Guys, is it clear? So this is an important condition. Am I clear? Any confusion?
Sir, so this
Tell.
condition is applicable even if the solid is partially immersed in water?
Yeah, it is partially immersed because that's a good question. See, when it is partially immersed only, I told volume of immersed portion, right? So this
Yes,
is
sir.
under. Now you tell me, what if it is completely immersed?
Then the volume of the solid will become volume of immersed portion.
Volume of the immersed portion. Then that is possible only when rho s is equal to rho l. When you substitute it in the above expression, completely
Yes,
Vs will be equal to Vi. You substitute it here. So when the density of the solid is equal to the density of the liquid, then what will happen is the solid will get completely immersed inside the liquid and it will flow somewhere in the mid portion. It will be somewhat like this. Okay.
yes.
Sometimes what will happen is if the density of the solid is greater than the density of the liquid, then the solid will get settled at the bottom because it will sink.
Yes, sir, got
You're
it.
able to understand? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's the meaning. Yeah. See, generally this equation is called as law of flotation. They call it as law of flotation. Okay. So this is all about the basics of hydrostatics. Okay. This apparent weight, everything we can see while solving the problems. I'll tell you how to do them. None of the formulae that is given here you need to memorize. You apply it, you're going to get the answer. Okay. Shall we start solving the problems? Any other doubt from this part?
No, sir.
So we will discuss problems from ideal fluids at rest. I think there was a problem in yesterday's class, right? Which was based on buoyancy. Shall we try that? So do you guys remember what problem it was? Sixth one. You guys read the question, take 2 minutes time. Tell me what ideas you have in your mind. You can try it on your paper and see. Try it in your book and tell me. So there is a load of mass m kilogram that is suspended from a steel wire of length 2 meter and radius 1 millimeter in a Seal's apparatus experiment. The increase in length produced in the wire is 4 millimeter. Now the load is fully immersed in a liquid of relative density 2. The relative density of the material load is 8. The new increase in length of the wire is equal to how much? So this is a problem which has the combination of mechanical properties of solids as well as fluid statics. So think about it. What is the idea you people are getting? Anybody?
So we have to equate. We have to find expressions for constants and then equate them.
You have to find the expression for constants. Okay. So how are you planning to solve this question? So if I read it like a story, I'm able to understand there are two cases. What are the two cases?
One in air,
One
one
is
in liquid.
that's it. So first let's analyze what is going to happen when it is in air. So when it is in air, there is a load that is suspended from a steel wire of length 2 meter and radius 1 millimeter. So there is a mass m. Correct? When this is happening, due to the weight of the solid that is being suspended, okay, due to the weight of the solid that is being suspended, there is an increase in the value of length of this. So how much is the value of delta L? So let's say the Young's modulus of the wire is y. So can I write y is equal to mg divided by, here why am I writing mg? Because they didn't speak anything about the string. So mg into L divided by A into delta L. Right? This is the expression I get. So delta L is equal to mg, that is a force multiplied with the original length divided by the area of cross section multiplied with the Young's modulus. This is the general formula. So in air, if I call it as L1, so in air, if I call it as L1, so delta L1 will be equal to mg into, it is still going to be L only because the same length is being immersed in water, into area of cross section into y. Am I clear, guys? Whereas when the same system is immersed into a liquid, what will happen to it? Mg will be downwards and buoyant force will be upwards. Now, what is going to be the effective weight of this particular solid? If I write delta L2, what replacement do I need to make here?
Mg minus Fb.
That's it. Mg minus Fb is the effective force that is trying to pull the string multiplied with the same length of the string divided by area into y. Correct? So here, have they given the mass? So capital M is given. What else is not given? They've told now the load is fully immersed in liquid of relative density 2. Okay. Then
Then we
what is
can
going
say
to be
the
the point?
Young's modulus is constant.
Sorry, no?
You can say that the Young's modulus is constant for both the cases.
Yeah, Young's modulus is constant because it's the same material. No? Yeah, that's right. Young's modulus is the same. Area of cross section is also going to be the same. But the only thing is I cannot find buoyant force. Here I'm looking at what are all the parameters that are given in the question. Capital M is given, acceleration due to gravity is constant. Indirectly they've given the area because the length, and the radius is given, area is given. Young's modulus, we don't need it with respect to this problem at least.
So we can find the buoyant force, sir.
How do you find it? That's what I want.
Sir, volume
Now
of
you learned
immersed
know what is.
volume of immersed portion வந்து full block no sir. So
Yes.
Density is equal to mass by volume. Relative density கொடுத்திருக்கான்.
Okay. So tell me எப்படி equation எப்படி frame பண்ண சொல்லுங்க. Equation எப்படி frame பண்ணலாம்? So buoyant force sure try it. You want to try and let me know? Okay, you guys try.
Yes sir.
Okay, try. Others are able to understand. We just discussed the buoyant force formula. What is the buoyant force? Density of liquid into volume of the solid. In this case, it is completely immersed into G. Okay. Will I be able to find the density of liquid? Density of liquid is?
Yes, sir.
2000 into what is the volume of solid? They have told the load is of having a relative density of 8. Can you tell me what is the volume of solid? Density of solid divided by the mass of solid into G. Now I hope you guys can proceed. Sorry.
Mass by
mass. Yeah, sorry. M of S divided by rho of S. So 2000 into mass of the solid given is capital M divided by what is the density of the solid in this case? Is it not 8000 multiplied with G? So it is nothing but M by 4. So take it and substitute in the second expression. Delta L2 will be how much? Mg minus Mg by 4, that is 3 Mg by 4 into L divided by A into Y. So you divide the first and the second. Delta L1 divided by delta L2 is equal to what will get cancelled? Mgl divided by A. So you'll be left out with 4 by 3. Is it right? Hmm. 4 by 3. So delta L2 will be equal to 3 by 4 into delta L1. So 3 by 4 into what is the value of delta L1, guys? The increase is 4 millimeters. So 4 millimeter, if you cancel it, so what is the answer? You're going to get 3 millimeter. Is there an option? So you guys understood how to apply buoyant force? Is there any doubt, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So we'll move to the next concept, that is ideal fluids at rest. Try the first question. There is a submarine that experiences a pressure of 5.05 into 10 power 6 Pascal at a depth of D1 in a sea. When it goes further to a depth of D2, it experiences a pressure of 8.08 into 10 power 6 Pascal, right? So out of these two, 5.05 and 8.08, the second one is higher, right? So which depth is going to be more? D2 is greater than D1. So if that is the case, D2 minus D1 is equal to what? Can you find it out? So what formula are you going to apply?
PA minus PB is equal to rho GH. Sorry, PB minus PA.
Okay, you want to do that? Okay, PB minus PA. PB minus PA is equal to rho G into, you're saying H. What is the value of H in this case?
D2 minus D1.
D2 minus D1.
Very good. So it is D2 minus D1. So pressure at point B is 8.08 minus 5.05. How much is it going to be? 3.03.
Yes, sir. 300, sir.
So 3.03 into 10 power 6 is equal to, answer is 300. Huh? Okay.
Sir.
So density is 10 power 3, close to 300. Okay, let's check. Acceleration due to gravity is 10. They told approximately only, then 300 should be right. So 10 power 3, this will get cancelled 10 power 3. So this will be 10 square. Yeah, 303 approximately. So answer is 300. That's an easy problem. Then I think we can move on to the next one. So you guys try this. Try this, no? Okay, I'll do one thing. See, this has two concepts. To make it simple for you, first you do this problem. So you can try this problem. There is a homogeneous solid cylinder of length L and area of cross section A by 5, which is immersed such that it floats with its axis vertical at the liquid-liquid interface with the length L by 4 in the denser liquid as shown in the figure. The lower density liquid is open to the atmosphere having pressure P naught. The density capital D of the solid is equal to how much? So tell me, how do we approach? It's actually one step. Okay, we need to frame the right equation. And the liquids do not mix with each other. That's the important. They're immiscible liquids.
Sir, mg is equal to buoyant force due to D and then buoyant force due to 2D.
Very good. So that is weight of the solid is balanced by the buoyant force due to liquid 1 and means plus the buoyant force due to liquid 2. Right. So as you told, weight of the solid is nothing but m into g is equal to, what are the buoyant force due to liquid 1? Density of liquid 1 into volume of immersed portion of solid into g, plus density of liquid 2 into volume of immersed portion in the second solid into g. Sorry, the second medium into g. So what is m? Density of the solid into, what is the total volume? Huh? It is AL divided by 5 into G. Correct? So cylinder's length is L, area of cross section is A by 5. That's right. So D into A by L into 5 is equal to, what is the density of liquid 1? That is small d into volume of the immersed portion.
3 by 4.
So if that's right, it is 3 by 4 into
A
completed.
into L. A by 5 into L.
Yes, it is A by 5 into L multiplied with G plus density of liquid 2 is
2D.
2D into L by 4 into A by 5 into L. So AL by 5, AL by 5 and AL by 5 will get cancelled.
G lang cancel.
So G is gone. Oh, here I missed G. So G is also gone. Capital D will be equal to 3D by 4 plus, I think I wrote an L extra. Is this 5? Plus D by 2. So this is 5D by 2, correct? 5D by 4.
By 4, sir. Yes.
Is there an option? 5D by 4. Is there an option like this? Yes. Okay. Using the same logic, think how you are supposed to do this problem. The only difference is you are going to use the concept of law of flotation. So here, how many cases will come, guys?
2, sir.
So first case is without oil. So without oil, what will be the mathematical relation? Mg will be equal to, you want me to do it or you will try?
Sir, we use that rho SVS is equal to rho LVI. Sir.
That's what, that's the law of flotation. See, you derived it only using the concept of weight is equal to buoyant force. So that is why I'm writing it again. It's the same. Mg is equal to buoyant force. M is nothing but rho s into Vs into G is equal to rho L into volume of immersed portion into G. This and this will get cancelled. Density of solid, let me call it as rho, into what is the volume of solid that they have known. If I take the volume of solid as capital V, then if the density of the liquid is taken as sigma, then volume of the immersed portion is 4 by 5 times V. Is this right? Guys, is it clear? Now, what is happening in the second case? Sir? Can someone explain me what exactly are they trying to say?
So they're trying to say that the buoyant force reduces when the net buoyant force reduces when the oil is added, because
We cannot say net buoyant force is decreased. See, initially what is happening is, let's say this is the liquid of density sigma, okay. When the wooden block is placed, it is getting immersed, that is, it is forcing itself in such a way that 4/5 of its volume is already inside the liquid. Means, who's dominating actually? Who's trying to dominate? Is it the liquid or the solid? So the solid is actually trying to push itself because, see, though it is not getting in completely, but what is happening is the buoyant force applied by the liquid of the density sigma is not sufficient enough to push maximum volume of the solid outside. Whereas to the existing liquid, if oil is also added on top of it, what is happening is, from 4/5 of the volume that was actually immersed, now the volume has got decreased to V/2. Because the remaining V/2 is where it's inside the oil. Means oil is helping to exert more amount of buoyant force to push it upwards. Are you able to understand? Are you able to understand this?
yes,
It's similar to, is it not similar to the sixth problem? Here two buoyant forces are coming into picture, that's it. So now what is your work? You take, so have they given the density of oil? They want the density of, okay. So this sigma is nothing but water only. Sorry, I didn't see that. So water, it is 1000, 10 power 3. Okay. Now let's say the density of the oil is sigma. Then take the second condition and do it like the sixth problem. You will get case number 2 for that. Once you get case number 2, divide 2 by 1, you will get the answer. Will you guys try it and tell me?
yes.
Is there anyone having a doubt, a conceptual doubt in it? Not clear of what exactly has happened? Okay. So guys, tell me, what is the answer?
So the answer is 0.6.
0.6. That's right. That's right. So density into volume of solid into G is equal to 10 power 3 into V/2 into G plus sigma into V/2 into G. So G gets cancelled, V is gone. So density of solid is rho. Okay. So equate the first and the second, what are you going to get? 10 power 3 into 4 by 5 is equal to 10 power 3 by 2 plus sigma by 2. Correct? So 4 by 5 minus 10 by 4 by 5 minus half is how much? Is it 3 by 10? So 3 by 10 into 10 power 3 is equal to sigma.
But I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Sir, when they're asking the density of oil related to water, water density 10 power 3 ன்னு substitute பண்றீங்க ஏன்னா இது just
I just take it. 10 sigma divided by 10 power 3. That's what I'm going to represent. That's going to be 3 by 5. It's 0.6. That's right. You need not substitute also. But just because it's water, I didn't want to introduce any other one more variable. rho W the Mary. That is the reason I took it as 10 power 3. Okay. But if you have not introduced, if you have not taken 10 power 3 also, it is right. Is this clear? I hope everyone is clear why we got 0.6. So it is an extension of 1995's problem, which was asked in 2019. Okay. Shall we move on to the next one? Now, let's see. We'll try this third one. So there is a circular tube in a vertical plane, two liquids which do not mix and of densities D1 and D2 are filled in the tube. Each liquid subtends 90-degree angle at center R. Okay. Now the radius joining their interface makes an angle alpha with the vertical. Okay, that is also accepted. Find the ratio of D1 by D2. So let's try. So how do we solve? I'm sure definitely a lot of trigonometry is involved. But
Sir,
what is the idea?
alpha which unit do we take in a component, sir?
You have to do. You need to. Here, rather, I cannot say it as component. You're okay. You want to take the components of which vector?
F vector.
Are you trying to? My question is it easy for us? I'm just thinking if it is easy for us to calculate the mass of the liquid in this column. I don't think it is that easy. What concept can we apply? If I take this as the liquid column, see, for example, I'm thinking like this. One thing I'm able to understand is we need to apply the pressure varying with respect to depth. Okay. So when I take the pressure varying with respect to depth, it is easy for me to involve the densities. Okay. So if I take it in this way. So this is the radius of the liquid column R and R. So let me do one thing. So did you guys understand where the 90 degrees is? Are you guys clear with where the 90 degrees is? Listen. So if I take the liquid to be like this, okay. So they're saying this whole angle is 90, this whole angle is 90. That is why you're able to see a line which is 180 degrees, right? Now, if this is alpha, how much is this angle going to be? It will be 90 minus alpha, so that this angle will be alpha. If this is alpha, then this will be 90 minus alpha, and here it will be alpha. So let me take this bottom as the reference line. If I take this point as x, okay. Tell me the components, guys. Let me take this as O, this as A, and I'll drop a perpendicular. Let me call the foot of the perpendicular as B. What is the distance AB? Are you guys able to understand? You want me to draw a separate diagram?
R
See,
tan
this
alpha.
problem is that R tan alpha.
R sin alpha.
Ilama. It is R is here, it is here, it is AB. So AB by R is sin alpha, no? It is R sin alpha. Correct? So AB is R sin alpha. This is R. So how much will this distance be, guys? This is also R. Correct? So if I take this AB as column 1 and XB as column 2, if this as column 2, then what is going to be the total pressure exerted by column 1 and column 2? Right. See, till here, are you guys clear? Is there any doubt in what I resolved? Is there any point that is not clear? Please let me know.
Clear.
Clear, right? Okay. See, what I'm going to do is, okay, I'll take this diagram and the question to another page. So this problem is conceptually not tough, but yes. Okay. Now see. So this is alpha. Right. So this height is R sin alpha and this height is R. Correct? So if I take the bottommost point as X, what is the pressure at point X due to the right side liquid column? Guys, are you able to understand my question? You have to apply the formula for pressure at a depth.
Interesting question.
So there is 90 minus alpha means if this is R, how much will this distance be? If this is AB, if I take this as C and this distance as D, what is the distance BC is what I'm asking. This is 90 minus alpha, this is R. What is the distance BC? BC divided by R is how much? Sin 90 minus alpha, that is nothing but cos alpha. So BC will be equal to R cos alpha. Why am I taking BC is because at the end of C, the liquid with density D2 is varying. Right? Then what will the distance CD be? CD will be R into 1 minus cos alpha. Am I clear, guys? So the pressure at point X due to the right side liquid is D2 multiplied with this much depth. So how much is the depth? R sine alpha multiplied with G plus D2 into BC into G. Plus D2 into CD into G. Is there any doubt? Not D2, D1. Any doubt, guys? Get it clarified if there is a doubt. So pressure at point X will be equal to D2 into, what is AB? R sine alpha into G plus D2 into BC. BC is R cos alpha into G plus D1 into, what is CD? R into 1 minus cos alpha into G. In a similar way, can you guys tell me what is going to be this height? What is going to be the distance? Let's say LM. Apply the same trigonometric ratios. So if this is going to be alpha, this distance is R, then this is 90 minus alpha. So LM will be R cos alpha. Sorry, LM will be R minus R cos alpha. Correct? So LM will be R minus R cos alpha or R into 1 minus cos alpha. So pressure at the same point X due to left column is what? At least tell this. Let me check if you have understood. So pressure at point X due to the liquid column on the left hand side. That is this portion.
D1 into R into 1 minus cos alpha into G.
Very good. D1 into R into 1 minus cos alpha multiplied with G. So what formula did I apply? I just applied rho GH, nothing else. Okay. So pressure at point X due to left column will be equal to pressure at the same point X due to the right column of the liquid. So equate both. D1 R into 1 minus cos alpha into G is equal to pressure at point X is D2 into, how much is it? R sine alpha into G plus D2 into R cos alpha into G plus D1 into R into 1 minus cos alpha into G. So what is going to get cancelled? G is gone. R is also gone. So D1 into 1 minus cos alpha minus D1 into 1 minus cos alpha is equal to 2 is equal to D1 is getting cancelled. Wait. I'm extremely sorry. This height is how much? This height is R sine alpha. So LM will be R into 1 minus sine alpha. Where is it? You can check it if you want. So the reason I got the doubt is because it's getting cancelled. Is equal to D2 into sine alpha plus cos alpha. Now tell me. So d1 and d1 will get cancelled. d1 into cos alpha minus sin alpha is equal to d2 into sin alpha plus cos alpha. So what did they ask? They asked d1 by d2. What is d1 by d2? Sin alpha plus cos alpha divided by cos alpha minus sin alpha. See, it's slightly a lengthy problem, but it's a good one because you can apply a lot of concepts here. So I suggest you to practice it. Okay, but you don't have sin alpha plus cos alpha by cos alpha minus sin alpha. So divide it with cos alpha in the numerator and denominator, you will get 1 plus tan alpha by tan alpha minus 1. So I think this should be the answer. Let me check. So 1 plus tan alpha by 1 minus tan alpha. That's right. So keeping the answer aside, are you guys clear with the concept? Did you understand what we are supposed to do? So in this problem, the important thing is we applied nothing but the pressure at depth, pressure at a particular depth, which is given by the formula rho GH. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That's... Oh, sorry. Actually, we got the answer. Sorry. When you're dividing with cos alpha, it will be 1 plus, tan alpha plus 1 according to this by 1 minus tan alpha. So answer is 1 plus tan alpha by 1 minus tan alpha. We got it. Clear? So, yeah, we'll do one last problem and then we can wind up. So we'll do the fifth one. So there is a hemispherical portion of radius r that is removed from the bottom of a cylinder of radius r. The volume of the remaining cylinder is V and mass is capital. It is suspended by a string in the liquid and the liquid's density is rho, where it stays vertical. The upper surface of the cylinder is at a depth h below the liquid surface. The force on the bottom of the cylinder by the liquid will be how much? So you guys can try it. Can you just tell me the idea for this problem? This is again one step. You just tell me the idea, that's enough. You need not sit and solve. So there is a hemispherical portion of radius r that is removed from the bottom of the cylinder of radius r. The volume of the remaining cylinder is V, mass is m. It is suspended by a string in a liquid of density rho, where it stays vertical. The upper surface of the cylinder is at a depth h below the liquid surface. The force on the bottom of the cylinder by the liquid will be. So it is similar to how we derived the expression. So how did we derive the expression for the liquid column at a depth h? It is the same logic. So if you take the cylinder with the hemispherical portion alone, then the force here will be downward due to the liquid column here, and here it will be F2, and here it will be mg. Now you can solve this. So F1 plus F2 is equal to, sorry, F1 plus mg is equal to F2.
Sir,
Tell me.
won't the tension be involved in this problem?
Now here we are not taking it into consideration because we are concerned about the liquid column that is acting upward. Here we need not take tension.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So how much is this step that they have given? They have told it's H, right? So what is F1? So can I write F2 is equal to F1 plus mg? So what are they asking? The force on the bottom. So F2 is equal to, what is F1, guys? F1 is the force that is exerted by the liquid column here. So how much is the force exerted by it? It is the pressure multiplied with area. Since this portion is exposed to atmosphere, atmospheric pressure is P naught, but they have not mentioned that. Okay, then we'll do one thing. We'll not take the atmospheric pressure into consideration. Rho GH multiplied with pi r square, accepted, plus what is the mass of the liquid, mass of the solid? That is the density of the solid. You can directly write it as mg. Is there an option like this? mg plus rho gh by r square. I think that's the answer.
Option
C.
C.
C is right. Yes. So actually, it's a small problem. Suppose they give, instead of giving you the mass, suppose they have given density, then you need to write the answer in terms of density. So I hope it is clear, guys. So this is a simple one. Just wait for a minute before we wind up.